It's like that. It's just the it's the profundity of the context, man. The context has everything to do with the nature of the aspects of the constituents, right? Everything's interplayed within itself. It's if you're in some sort of constrained environment, then you have context. Context flies out the window when you don't have limitations. You have to have aspects of control on any sort of an analytical type of viewpoint. Otherwise, it just goes out of control. You have to maintain it and restrain it inside some sort of reality. So doing that, it's like you can put this, that what that does with this is it puts it, this doesn't come into my life. I rarely will go into my own problems directly and explicitly. I address them tangentially. That's what I do, because that in that way you're able to contextualize it on your own. So that contextualization happens on your side. What I'm doing is generalized information coming from a general place that's available to everyone. That's the thing, but I'm just bringing it out of there and giving it to you right here, which is a different thing, because that doesn't contain components of any other context. That's what I'm saying. If it is context free, you are able to utilize it to your discretion. It's discretionary, so you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to engage with it. That's the other thing too. But I think the problem is that when people take in this information, it'll immediately be contextualized within their own life, because that's what people are propense to do. So what they will do is they will hear a piece of information and they will immediately relate it to themselves, because that's what humans do. But it's like, you got to understand that that's your thing. That's your thing. So that has nothing to do with my end. My end is simply, it's not even, I'm not even really making choices from that. It's just kind of giving a piece of a consciousness that is almost outside of myself, as I had explained. But it's like, when you can take it and contextualize it where you want it to be, then it can become something for you. So that's where I think the value is. So it's like everything else in life. Like, nothing is simple, right? Everything needs to have components of complexity and simplicity. We don't come from a place of extremes. It's impossible. You have to analyze any sort of set of facts on a general basis, because remember, nothing in life is so extreme that it cannot that it can exist in an extreme. Life cannot exist in an extreme. It just doesn't work. Though extremes are places of death and dissolution. That's where things get twisted up into the ether and don't come back. So there's like this combination of contradictions that life is composed of, and that really is the truth. Is that most of the realest things in life are a paradox, right? They conflict. They're conflicting. So we have the present moment and its manifestation into the future. Those contradict themselves, because the instantiation of the present doesn't have anything to do with the preceding instantiation of the same. However, the relationship between the two is distinct and known, and almost explicitized. It's almost discretized, as in, it follows. Tomorrow follows from today. Right, but everything that consists of tomorrow came from today. But yet they are discrete entities. So is this complexity? That's where the complexity lies. Is that there is a bridge between these things, but they do exist separately from one another, 100% separately from one another. And that explanation is not. I'm not going to go into the real depth of that now, because it would be too much conceptually, but that's just like the general basis, is that most of the true things in life, the real things that last in life, the substantive things down at the bottom of reality that give us an understanding of what things really are paradoxical in nature. So it's the same thing, and you have to take that into your life, right? Like, you have to imagine, if that is true, then the same is true for yourself. When you are operating in your own life, you should see that manifest as well. So if you are working really at any extreme, no matter whether it's your personal life, professional, you could even, the amount of time that you work in a day, the amount of food that you eat. I mean, this is obvious. This is almost to the point where it's obvious. Right? We know this. We know that you can't go too far in one direction, otherwise you destroy yourself. But people, I think, ideologically or psychologically don't apply this in the same way that we do with the physiological things such as, you know, working out or dietary considerations. So, but it's like we don't get to go all the way in one direction. We aren't allowed to do that. And if you do that, you will lose whatever it is that you have in any aspect. Now, I think that is the task that we have is to analyze our situations that we find ourselves in life, in life, and be able to look at it and say, how far am I one way? And if I'm trending toward an extreme in any sense, pull it back, because you cannot go too far in that direction, and everybody knows that, and everybody finds that out. If you exist in one of these extremes, the turmoil of your life, I mean, it doesn't even matter what part of your life we're talking about. If you spend all day on your phone, you start to lose your mind. Everything in life follows this rule, this paradoxical, and I'm oversimplifying that analogy a little bit, but it does hold true. You know, that's one of the things about life that I think people sometimes don't learn, is that it's our job to modulate the way that we experience our lives, because we are really the ones in control of that shit. And if we don't take the time to understand that fact, we are just at the whims of the tides of fate, right? So you are essentially a victim to the machinations of the universe, and you will start to believe that too. If you don't have control of your own life, which is, you know, it takes 2 seconds to decide to take control of your life. But if you don't do that, you end up in a place of resentment, of victimhood, of all these negative emotions and experiences that you don't want to be there, because that's a place that's also an extreme. You've gone to an extreme. So and these extremes will compound on each other. They will compound on each other. I really don't think you can do anything. You can't touch one extreme without at least touching the other. If you're gonna go to the depths of one place, just be ready for what you find there, because you will be expelled. There is no eternal resting place in the furthest reaches of possibility and potential. I'm telling you, man, if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not growing in all aspects of yourself, you're going to start to destroy yourself. We will destroy ourselves from within. You see it in the country right now. We're so overextended in so many ways, financially, militarily, domestically, the population. We live in an extreme environment. And that's the other thing too, is that we actually live in a world of extremes. So people don't know these truths, because our whole existence in this culture is predicated on basically some weird sort of reverence towards the aspects of life that, you know, it's not necessarily it's just not virtuous. And deep down we all know that what we're doing is incorrect. I think that all human beings know when we're doing the wrong thing. We know. Sometimes we do it anyways, but when you know you're about to do the wrong thing and you do it anyways, you better just buckle up, put on your fucking safety vest, because there's consequences coming down the road, and you know it. It does fascinate me the way that people don't understand the coming consequences to their choices. A lot of this is, you know, young people, I think, perpetuate a majority of this, but you would be surprised the amount of adults who live a life that is unaware of anything I have just said here, which is crazy, because you could hear it in 1 second. You know, I've just said it, but there is a whole subset of the population that is never even considered, and never will consider, and never will have any sort of predilection to be anything else other than the extreme thing that they are. Those are the people that are destroying. That's the edge of society that's starting to twist and deform and get grotesque, because we see there's no balance. And I mean, this is one of those universal concepts that's almost cliched at this point, the balance. And I mean, it goes to what I'm talking about, man. These balance is the proper allocation of resources and energy to both extremes. That's what it is, man. If you're unbalanced in life, you're going to fall. So I think people know this shit, man. People know it. You just maybe you haven't remembered it in a while, or maybe you choose to ignore it. But it's like that isn't going away. I'm telling you, this is one. There's some things about life that just are how they are. The rules of life, right? The way that life operates, the way the world operates, is not any sort of modulating set of guidelines or suggestions. It's very, very distinctly it is what it is, man. It exists. The world exists and operates as it does. The world has a pattern of behavior that doesn't change. Now, things change over time within the human society, but the rules of life aren't going anywhere. And people forget that. That's the thing is, you think you're better than God? You think you're better than God. That's the old school type of thinking with it. You know, like the hubris. That's the hubris. The Greeks knew this more than anything, is that you can't change. You can't stop the rain from falling. What good is it to yell at the sky, screaming at the sky, man? So that's those parts of life need to be accepted. This is what I would like to see from people, is just the ability to take in information like this and actually apply it in their lives, and stop. Here's the thing: stop being mad about it. Because if you don't like something that is never going to change, you're the fucking idiot. You're the idiot. If there's something about the world that you don't like, but it's never going to change ever, and you sit there and are fucking mad about it for your whole fucking the eternal duration of your time on this planet, you are the idiot. You are the idiot. God sent you here for whatever, God, the universe, whatever. You're here for a reason, and you're wasting it by being mad. So enough of that.